we're back.
It's the Horror Guys.
Yay!
With episode 313.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we got more holiday-themed horror movies for you this week.
Christmas has come and gone, but the horror movies have not.
Yeah.
We're still getting through.
There's 31 days of December.
And we didn't get through all of them. There's so many Christmas movies.
We're never going to get through all of them.
And next year they're going to make more.
They will.
Yeah.
We're going to keep up on them, too.
Okay.
Yep. Well, and as always, these reviews and synopses are brought to you by HorrorMonthly.com. Check out HorrorMonthly.com where you can pick up the book versions of all the reviews, full spoilers, full commentary, full trivia, everything you want to know about these movies in one easy place. You can buy it as an ebook or a paperback book. HorrorMonthly.com. Every month.
Here, we'll just give you a little taste.
Usually the ebooks are $3.99 and the paperbacks are $8.99, unless it's an unusually big issue.
Wherever fine books are sold.
That means usually Amazon, but hey, it's available other places too.
Yep, it is.
Yep, HorrorMonthly.com. What was that website again?
HorrorMonthly.com.
You got it.
Okay.
All right, so what are we doing this week? What do we got?
We got 2020's Hosts. And it's sort of a home invasion kind of story.
Kinda.
And then there's a barn invasion kind of story. There's Something in the Barn from 2023. And then we're going to deal with a whole lot of grief and isolation with The Melancholy Fantastic from 2011.
Does not sound like a Christmas movie, but it does take place at Christmas.
Yep, and therefore, yep. And another one that's not truly Christmassy, but it takes place on Christmas and Christmas break, The Dorm That Dripped Blood.
That certainly sounds like a holiday story.
1982, a slashery. Yeah. And then we're going to go way back further in time to watch The Curse of the Cat People from 1944.
I think we're scraping the bottom of the Christmas barrel here.
That one's pushing it, yeah.
It takes place at Christmas, part of it.
It does have a holiday tie-in, and it's wintry, so yeah.
They all do have a holiday tie-in of some sort or another.
And then we got 5 nifty short films that we're going to talk about, too.
Yeah, some of those are holiday also.
Yeah.
Some aren't. And, of course, this is, what is today, the 26th when we're recording this, so we got a few more days this week. Mm-hmm. This will come out on the weekend. Monday and Tuesday next week are still December, so we'll still have some holiday movies for you next week. But on the 1st, we will go back to the usual random, new and old, non-holiday horror stuff.
An entire month of New Year's movies.
No, I don't think there are that many.
Probably not that many.
There's a few.
There are a few.
We're going to have one of them on New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost Keeper. One neither of us was terribly impressed with.
Yeah.
But it is a New Year's movie.
It's a little misleading on the title, yeah.
Is it, though? You'll have to tune in and watch it and find out.
Yeah.
But this week, we're going to start off with 2020's Hosts, directed by Adam Leader and Richard Oakes, written by those guys. Stars Neil Ward, Frank Jakeman, and Samantha Loxley. Hour and 29 minutes, trailer in the show notes. Spoiler-free, starts out strong with some over-the-top violence. The violence continues, but the tone changes as it goes along. We both went into this one blind, thinking it was going to be a standard home invasion kind of situation. There's more to it than that.
It's more complicated than that, yeah.
And Kevin liked it somewhat better than Brian, with a mix of votes. Mm-hmm. You are so easygoing on most movies.
Well, the more I thought about this one, though, the more I enjoyed it. And there were some little bits here and there that I picked up on. And yeah.
Okay, you're going to have to explain that when we get through it.
Okay. Well, a man drives an empty train into the station, parks, and then gets out. Walks across a field and sees a man dressed as Santa. That's how you know it's a Christmas movie. Jack talks to the red-clad Michael about dinner tonight and admires the pheasants that he's just shot. That's the pheasant's bird, not peasants. Yeah. And then Jack goes home to his wife, Lucy, who shows her the bad haircut that he just got, which I don't think looks that bad, but it's radically different from his usual look, I guess. Well, the couples trade Christmas gifts, and Lucy sees 2 small lights out in their garden. We see them too, but Jack missed it. He goes outside, but doesn't see anything. And when he comes back inside, he hears banging upstairs. He finds Lucy upstairs, convulsing, and there's a bright light inside her that seems to want out. Well, over at Michael's house, Michael and Eric talk about Cassie, Michael's wife. They watch the news complain about the pagan traditions replacing the traditional Christmas traditions. And they speak of what people are calling electrical anomalies that people are reporting. Lauren and Ben play a boring game of checkers till she gets a call from Matt, who couldn't come to dinner tonight. Well, Jack and Lucy, the light-dealing couple, they come to the door as planned, but it's obvious they aren't quite right anymore. And their eyes glow, for one thing.
It's funny that nobody seems to comment on that.
Well, nobody notices, yeah. Cassie and Lucy cook in the kitchen while Michael shows Jack an antique TV set that he's working on. The old man talks about how much the old TV means to him as Jack stands there pretty impassively. Their eyes don't glow continuously. It's intermittent. Well, the two of them sit through dinner like zombies, which is kind of awkward. And Lucy has a hammer in her hand throughout the meal.
Why don't we stop right
just
there?
Holding it under the table. Yeah. And they're just sitting there like a couple of zombies, not saying a thing. And the family is just having this happy, animated conversation, and there's this wonderful news that the mother has to share with the family.
And nobody seems to notice that the two guests are not into this
just
at all.
Totally out of tune. Well, the two guests suddenly make themselves very noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to ignore them after this.
Yeah, that's a horrifying scene.
Well, we went into this one completely blind. That probably helped, as we had no idea what the story was even about. That's always the best way with most of these.
Mm-hmm.
The characters were good, and the first half hour was all very well done. Once the killing started, it was basically just another home invasion movie, as the monsters or aliens or whatever they are didn't really do anything supernatural. Although Lucy's fairy tale and Michael's paternity admission didn't seem to coincide with each other. It's sort of a prophecy kind of thing there, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
The whole alien invasion thing shows that to be untrue. And I don't think that's a big spoiler. You can kind of figure that out from the beginning. I thought it started well, but went downhill fast.
But then it got interesting, I think. Yeah, it did start strong and change.
It's a home invasion movie with a alien twist.
Well, I don't think it was aliens. It was apocalyptic. But I think it was from down below. I think it was demons or
Oh, okay.
something of the earth, that was
Uh-huh.
coming up. And they hinted to that with, paganism versus Christianity, and that it was.
All right. Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't think it was aliens. I think it was something supernatural. But the things themselves didn't have, once they were in a body, they just seemed to be limited to physical strength. And I'm kind of giving them some credit, too, that the whole thing was causing an apocalyptic haze over the victims, too, because they make some really dumb choices.
Well, it's a horror movie.
Yeah, but like at one point, the invaders lock the victims, the surviving victims, in their rooms. Okay, they're locked in their rooms on the first floor with windows. And they're like, oh, we can't get out. We're trapped. Climb out the window? Go for help? And, they got no phones or whatever. Okay, well, break out, go to a neighbor, or something. But they just sit there passively a lot of times. And so I think there was something to that, too.
Horror movie-itis.
Yeah, could be.
Maybe.
Anyway,
Okay.
I kind of enjoyed it.
It was an unusual kind of home invasion thing.
Not typical, yeah.
And then we have a barn, like you said, a barn invasion thing next with 2023's There's Something in the Barn. Directed by Magnus Martins, written by Alexander Kirkwood Brown, Josh Epstein, and Kyle Rideout. Stars Martin Starr, Amrita Acharya, and Kiran Shah. Hour and 40 minutes. Trailer in the usual place. Spoiler-free what happens.
Spoiler-free? Who knew there were so many rules to follow when your barn is infested with elves, and how cranky they can get? This is an American family in Norway that finds out. There's loads of humor in this one, along with gore and violence, and we liked it a lot.
It's a very violent comedy, for sure.
Yes, it is. Yeah, lots of action, and yeah.
And a lot of making fun of Norway people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A man chains his tractor to something in the barn. The tractor won't start, and he finds that the wires have been cut. He goes back inside and pours gasoline all over the floor of the barn. Then he sees it. The gasoline thing goes badly, and he burns to death while the barn remains intact.
Oopsie.
Credits roll. 1 year later, Bill, Carol, Lucas, and Nora Nordheim arrive in Norway. It's the happiest country in Europe, they say. They all stop to take a photo with a moose crossing sign. Then they see a real moose, which attacks them. The sheriff stops to help, and she warns them about mooses. Mises? Mice?
Mice.
Yes.
Mouses.
It's all very scenic and remote, but they've inherited a very large house. In the middle of nowhere, but not too far from a town, though. Nora is not pleased, but everyone else seems thrilled.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful house and beautiful location. Kind of isolated, though, if you're a teenage girl used to active city life and all her friends and so forth.
Mwah.
Yeah.
Bill takes them all out to the barn, which he thinks they might turn into a bed and breakfast someday. Lucas hears something out there that scares him. That night, he sees eyes watching from the barn.
Who could it be?
Well, the family goes into town the next day, and they stand out among the real Norwegians. Lucas goes to a strange shop that sells barn elf statues and has a museum. The man there, Tor Agi, tells him all about the elves. If you treat the barn elves nice, they'll be good to you. If you make him angry, he'll do whatever it takes to get rid of you. He also explains the rules. They hate any kind of change, bright lights, and loud noises. And he stops smiling when Carol mentions the Nordheim farm. Oh, we all know that place.
Yeah, that's got a reputation.
That night, Lucas goes out and meets the elf. He offers him a cookie. Carol tries to console Nora about her not wanting to live there, but Nora doesn't much like Carol. The replacement the mother, much better. Carol suggests that they could throw a party for the neighbors in the barn.
Oh, that's a bad idea.
We know that's how that's going to go.
Noise and change, and yep.
Well, in the morning, Bill finds that the whole parking area has been shoveled. The elf did it in exchange for the cookie. Lucas thanks the elf, and they have more cookies. He tells Carol about talking to an elf, and that goes about as well as you'd expect.
Yeah, a little kid. Yeah, nobody believes him.
The elf then cuts a huge amount of firewood for the family.
Which nobody sees. It just appears. The next, suddenly, oh, thank you.
It's the elf and the shoemaker kind of thing.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Wonder if anybody knows that story anymore.
I don't know. Maybe. It's
But
out
anyway,
there.
yeah, you treat the elves nice, they're going to pay you back. You mess up the elves, you're going to
And
pay.
they're going to mess with you, as this family finds out.
Later, Bill decorates the whole house with bright lights, which terrifies the elf. Lucas explains about the barn elf, but no one listens to Lucas, and the elf is, in fact, not pleased. In the morning, all the decorations have been brutally destroyed. They call the sheriff, who blames local kids, but is otherwise not so helpful. You're in Norway now. Nothing bad ever happens here, she explains.
Except for all the ornaments being destroyed.
Spoiler, bad things happen in Norway.
Yeah.
All right, well, no one takes Americans seriously in Norway, even though Norwegians are the silly people here. The family actors are all great, each one in denial in their own way. The elves are both funny and scary at the same time, and the locals are a hoot as well. There are some deaths and gore, but it's mostly played for laughs. It's like a twisted child's movie. And the elf is happy now.
I hadn't seen the poster, and the poster has more than one elf on it. So I was completely taken aback. Like, oh, there's a bunch of them. I thought it was just going to be one elf. No, there's more than one elf for sure. Yeah. I like the balance of horror and humor. I thought they captured it good in this. The casting, everything about this one was good. My favorite of the week for sure.
Oh, I hadn't thought that far ahead.
Up there, one of my favorites of the month. I would put it. One of my favorites out of the
Yes, I would say it's my
Christmas
favorite
movie.
of the week also.
Yeah, excellent.
All right, well, one that's not so much fun. The Melancholy Fantastic, also known as The Doll in the Dark, 2011. I had never heard of this before this month.
I had not either. Yeah.
Directed by A.D. Calvo and Alejandro Daniel, written by A.D. Calvo, stars Amy Crowdis, Robin Lord Taylor, and Josh Karras. Hour and 13 minutes, so it's a little on the short side for a new movie.
And you may recognize the guy who played the Penguin in the Batman TV series.
Not Colin Farrell, the other penguin.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So many penguins.
Yeah.
So many Jokers. So many Batmen.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Screaming for a multiverse story.
They need to bring them all together in a multiverse. Yeah.
But anyway, in this case, the Batman is more of a crow man.
Yeah.
Well, spoiler-free, what happens?
It's a story of loneliness, guilt, mourning, and a little bit of insanity set during the Christmas season. And we have been hard on some of the tropes where it's one of those where, are things real or are they crazy? Is it in their head or is it real?
Oh, that crap gets so old.
That does get old, but they do a really nice job with it this time.
Well, it's also a 13-year-old movie.
And
so,
it's short. It doesn't drag on. We thought it was well made and interesting enough to keep us engrossed in it.
It's definitely a slow-paced psychological thing. Don't expect a lot of monsters in this one.
But we give it a pretty strong thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
As the credits roll, we see someone assembling something. Some kind of craft project. Oh, it's a creepy doll. Melanie explains that Mother died today. Maybe yesterday. Which I did not recognize as anything, but
It's
it turns
a
out
poem.
it is. Yeah, we get that later.
Yeah.
She gets in the car and talks to the doll. She goes to a gas station and buys a bunch of snowball snacks.
This movie made me want snowballs.
Those pink marshmallowy. Are they coconutty too?
They're coconut. Yeah, they're marshmallow with a chocolatey cake center, covered with marshmallow, covered with coconut. And they come in different colors.
I haven't had one in many years.
Classically, they're pink, but I have seen white and other colors too. Yeah.
Well, she goes home, and we get a look at the doll from behind. And we weren't quite sure. It kind of looked like there was a seam. Is it a mask on a corpse?
Yeah, that's what I wondered. If
It's kind of blurry,
if
but
she
we're
had
not
the
sure.
body, that she'd made into a doll or something.
Her mother's body with a mask over the face. And we do see later that it really is just an ugly doll. Not really a spoiler.
Pretty cool doll.
Yeah. Melanie has a whole conversation about the doll not being polite as they eat their snacks. She continues talking to the doll as she puts up Christmas lights. There's our connection. We hear a voice. Don't cut yourself. As we see, she's hanging razor blade garland on the tree.
How festive.
Oh, my.
Shiny.
Melanie clearly hears her dead mother's words coming out of the doll. I'll never leave you again. Well, Melanie goes to the library and talks to a weird guy there, Dukin. Mrs. Wiley is also there, and she mentions that her son is home from school and would love to see her. Dukin likes her and follows her out to the car. Who's your creepy friend? He asks when he sees the doll. Melanie drives away and ignores him.
Yeah, he was making good progress until he called the doll creepy.
The insurance company calls. They have papers for Melanie to sign about her mother's policy. Does that go anywhere?
No, not really.
Okay, all right.
No.
Just she's in denial about things.
Yeah, she's not taking care of things. Yeah.
Later, Melanie's out driving alone and sees Dukin again. He's got a dead bird that he wants to bury. He talks about two birds. He killed one with his car, but the other one then flew into a wall and died. And she asks him to go see a movie tomorrow. There's all that romantic talk about dead birds.
Yep, really turns a girl on.
Melanie goes home and makes a sandwich from moldy bread. She talks to Moore, the name of the doll, about reading a book where a man kills a complete stranger after losing his own mother. Razor blades, whispers Moore. And that's a good stopping point right there.
It is a pretty good stopping point. Yeah.
Well, the most horrifying thing in this film is the chunky expired milk.
Well, in moldy bread, too. You can see the green spots on the bread.
But moldy bread you can eat without too much trouble. Chunky, gross milk,
Plop, plop.
that's just that's nasty
when
just
you can
watching it on TV.
Literally see the chunks plopping into the
Blarp,
glass.
blarp, blarp.
Yeah, that's
I'm
pretty
kind of
nasty.
gagging up thinking about it right now.
Yeah.
It's a happy Christmas story of grief, suicide, depression, and more than a little insanity. Dukin is nice, gentle, empathic, and exactly what Melanie needs. Most of the movie is suspense. Will she kill him or not? Is he even real? There were some hints that he might not have been.
He just might have been another doll.
He might have been. I was thinking she was just, imagining him all the time.
Completely, possibly.
But maybe
yeah.
he's real.
But that's interesting because
Even at the end, we're not entirely sure.
Right up until the very end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's very weird. Considering it's one of those grief as horror movies that we're all generally sick of, this was very interesting and well done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
And you want snowballs.
It's a grim piece of work, but I liked it. Yeah.
All right, so another cheerful movie. The Dorm That Dripped Blood from 1982, also known as Death Dorm. Ooh, sounds like fun.
Yeah, it does.
Directed by Stephen Carpenter and Jeffrey Obrow, written by those guys along with Stanley Giacchino, stars Lori Lipinski, Stephen Sachs, and David Snow. It's an hour and 28 minutes, and there's a trailer in the show notes.
I like that this one didn't waste time. That was part of the appeal, too. It's only an hour and a half. It gets right to it.
So many movies are so long now.
Mm-hmm. Excessively.
A 2-hour horror movie is really kind of stretching it, almost always.
And some are longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard that complaint about Nosferatu, the brand new, spanking new that's
it
out
came
this
out
week.
yesterday, and we're already hearing complaints.
And that's a complaint I've heard about it, that it's too long.
Yeah. Well, this one I think probably mostly stands out because it's so early. A 1982 slasher. Mm-hmm. And Halloween came out, and I think Friday the 13th, but this is right in the same area as those movies.
Early days of slashers.
Early days, yes. It's another variation of a group of people in an isolated situation getting terrorized and picked off one or two at a time by an unseen slasher. That sounds kind of familiar.
A little bit formulaic, but
very formulaic.
But this one has some interesting points that I thought it was worthy.
There's the who is doing it question, raised by keeping the killer's face from us until the reveal at the end and the final showdown. It's decently made and has good effects. It's a little dated. I don't remember where we saw this. Maybe it was Tubi.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Kind of grainy and cheap looking.
It might not have made it to DVD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're into the genre, though, this one is pretty good.
It's worthy. Yeah. We open on Dayton Hall, a condemned dormitory. One guy runs through a dark hallway and hides from someone who strangles him from behind and cuts his hand at the same time, adding injury to insult. And then credits roll. Well, Tim has found an apartment for him and Joan to move in together, but she wants more time to think about it. We got some introduction to the characters kind of stuff going on. He's leaving in the morning for his Christmas ski trip, but she's going to stay behind to help pack up the beds and stuff in a condemned dorm high-rise. Most of the campus will be closed for the winter break.
So we've got a condemned dormitory on campus. The campus is closed for the holidays, and all the students except a few workers have left.
Who are in this dorm. The dorm that will drip blood.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Debbie shows up in the morning and says she can't stay to help long, but it's going to be a huge job. Joni's got a long checklist, and only 2 weeks to finish the project. Well, then we get a point of view shot from someone skulking around the building watching the various characters. Debbie's parents come for her, and she waves at them from the roof. They wait for her in the car a bit, and then the father goes inside after her. And this was interesting, too, because it was one of those things where Debbie was going to leave, and I was thinking, oh, she's going to get killed on the way out.
And nobody will notice she's gone.
Because everybody thought, oh, she was just leaving. But her parents are going to notice.
They're out in the car waiting.
There's soon to be 3 victims here.
Get them all.
The killer kills the dad with a spiked baseball bat and then strangles Debbie's mother. By the time Debbie gets downstairs, she finds both her parents dead. She faints, and the killer runs over her excessively before driving away with the bodies.
Okay, so that was thorough.
Yeah, it's going to be that kind of movie. Well, there's 4 people left, isn't there? Joan, Craig, Patty, and Brian fix breakfast in the morning, and Patty notices John, a weird student with funky hair, going through their dumpster. Bill, the maintenance man, complains to Joan about his best drill going missing. Somebody borrowed it, and Joan doesn't know anything about it. And I was thinking then, too, we're going to see that drill again later. Bobby Lee Trimble stops by to pick up 75 desks that his boss is buying. So we got 6 characters now. Craig talks about how easy it is to get A's in this school. Patty finds it much harder than he does. Joan talks to Brian about how Tim gets on her nerves. Well, the 4 young workers play pool, and we see someone outside acting suspiciously. It's John who's peeping in their windows. So, the killer's John, right?
Must be.
Yeah, we should stop there.
Yeah.
Because stuff happens, and of course, there's more
Of
deaths.
course, it's not John. I mean, that's just too red herring-ish.
Yeah. The bodies, the survivors become lower and lower in number, and, you've got that formula going.
Oddly enough, these students aren't potheads or sex fiends who are getting killed. It's always, you have sex in the movie, you're going to die. If you smoke pot, you're going to die. If you're black, you're going to die. It's always the final girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this time, these are all good, hard-working students looking to make a few bucks over the break. It was still obvious who all along who the final girl was going to be, but at least it wasn't for the usual reasons. It's got a very good set and location, and it really does look like an abandoned building. Maybe it was. I don't know.
Maybe it was, yeah. It sure looked it.
And people are still living there, the day before this movie took place. They all just cleared out for break, and they're cleaning out the furniture and stuff.
Yeah, I guess
it looks way too old for that.
Yeah.
Well, the cast here is fine, but nobody really stands out. And of course, the plot is the same as 100 other Kill Them One by One films that we've seen. Still, it's an early one. It's not bad. It's well done. And it does have a few interesting little twists to it.
Mm-hmm. It's worthy. If you like this genre, check it out. You should. The dorm that dripped blood.
Not the house that dripped blood. That was a whole different story.
The dorm.
And that takes us back to 1944's Curse of the Cat People.
Stinker of the week.
Oh my!
I'm gonna say that right up front.
Yeah, I'm gonna go there too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fine movie, I guess, but it's just very misleading.
Mm-hmm. It sure is.
We did Cat People from 1942, way back when, and then we did the 1980s Cat People also.
I liked the remake was much better. That was Natasha Kinski and what's his face?
Klaus Kinski. No.
Star Trek.
Malcolm McDowell.
Malcolm McDowell. Yes.
Say Star Trek. Yeah, that's what he's best known for. Huh? Clockwork Orange, dude.
Clockwork Orange. Yes. But anyway, the original Curse of the Cat People
came out 2 years before this.
The original Cat People. I mean.
Yeah.
Actually had some cat. People turning into cats.
Did it though? Yeah. That's debatable in this one. They retcon it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, at the end of 1942's Cat People, the main character, Irina, who may or may not be a cat person, dies.
Mm-hmm.
Her boyfriend or husband marries his assistant, Alice, and they get together and have a happy ending. That's the end of that movie. Spoilers.
2 years later.
2 years later, we get this one, which has no cats, no people, and no curse.
Well, it has people.
Oh, all right.
But there's no curse.
Directed by Gunther von Fritsch and Robert Wise, written by DeWitt Bodine, stars Simone Simon, Kent Smith, and Jane Randolph. It's pretty much the same cast as the original movie.
At least it's short.
Hour and 10 minutes.
It was only an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yes.
And there is a cat, briefly. It's presented as a sequel to 1942's Cat People, and there is a thin connection, except they didn't put in any cat people, and there's barely any cat. There might be a ghost, but it's really pushing it to call it horror.
It's not horror.
It's more of a family drama. It's an okay family drama about a little girl with an overactive imagination who struggles to fit in without being judged insane. And she might be actually skirting the edge of it. She's more than imaginative. There's something wrong with this girl. Yeah. We'd rate it as just okay and downright misleading, and the title and the scary-looking poster.
The poster has this giant panther
that is threatening them ominously in the background.
Yes.
I guess.
Was there even a panther in this one?
There was a black cat briefly.
A cat, a meow cat.
Yeah,
not a big
meow
cat.
cat. Yeah. Well, I guess this is, the poster is representing the horrible past that's looming behind them ominously. That will never be forgotten. The past.
The past that the little kid doesn't even know about.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So
anyway,
here's the big spoiler for the movie. Mm-hmm. Other than the same characters, this has nothing to do with the cat people.
No. Yeah.
If they had wanted to rename these characters and do the exact same movie, they could have. It has nothing to do with anything that happens in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
So if you love the cat people,
just stop there.
Just stop there, yeah.
Stop and enjoy the cat people. Enjoy the original and the remake, and avoid this one.
But if you're a diehard completionist, you'll find out when you watch this that a bunch of kids take a class trip to the park. Some boys see a black cat in a tree and pretend to shoot it. It runs away. Meow!
See? There's your
and that's
cat.
the last we're going to see of a cat in this movie.
Pretty much.
The girls all pick on Amy because she's a little different. She talks to bugs. A boy squishes a butterfly and she slaps him. This results in the parents being called.
Now, he totally had that coming, though.
Times were different.
He was goading her.
Well, the principal talks to Alice and Oliver from the first film about Amy's lack of friends. There's something moody about her, something sickly. She's almost like Irina's child, Oliver thinks.
Mm-hmm.
Irina is the dead woman from the previous movie. This is actually Alice's real... Oliver and Alice got married after the movie and had a kid, Amy.
Yeah.
So this is in no way is she connected to Irina.
This is not Irina's genetic offspring. No.
But she's weird like Irina.
Yeah, somehow.
Alice says he spends too much time thinking about Irina, and Amy really is her child. Amy has a birthday party, and no one shows up. Amy asked to mail the invitations herself, but then she didn't. Turns out she put them in an old tree that she imagines is a magic mailbox, not a real mailbox. And that works as well as you'd think.
The invitations are still sitting there.
The three have a small party, just them and Edward the servant. She wishes to be a good girl and act like a normal kid. Don't be so imaginative. Because if you got an imagination, you're really insane.
Well, she goes over the top with it.
Amy goes exploring at the nearby haunted house, and someone inside gives her a ring. Could it be a magic wishing ring? Amy says, "I wish for a friend," with her new ring. She tells Oliver about the house later, and he gets angry. She's just too bound up in fantasies and her overactive imagination. A haunted house? What is wrong with you?
Crazy girl.
Of course, it is a real house. We've seen it. It's a real place.
Yeah, but he doesn't know that yet.
Alice tells Amy that she needs to return the ring to the old house. You know, this old house that a minute ago he didn't think existed.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Callahan, the teacher, comes over, and they talk about Oliver's first wife and how he hasn't really gotten over her. Sometimes Alice thinks Irina haunts the house. Meanwhile, Amy goes back to the old house to return the ring. She meets Barbara Farron, who is sullen and creepy. The old woman comes in, laughing like a maniac, and gives Amy a good scare. "I've been watching you," Julia Farron says. She's an aging stage actress who doesn't want the ring back. She doesn't much care for Barbara, who she calls a liar and a cheat. That's her daughter, by the way.
Yeah, at first I thought it was just a housekeeper, servant, but no, the old lady's got dementia and doesn't recognize that it's her daughter.
The old lady then tells little Amy the story of the Headless Horseman. Barbara shows them the way out, but she never says a word. Julia says later that her daughter Barbara died when she was 6. But adult Barbara, who's standing right there, swears she's really Julia's daughter. "You're an imposter," the old woman proclaims. That night, Amy dreams about the Headless Horseman. But this time, the wishing ring brings her something else. A ghost who sings her a Christmas song in French.
Might be Irina.
It might be. Might not be.
Yeah.
You'll have to watch it and find out. Or better yet, just go over to horrorweekly.com and read the full spoilery synopsis so you don't have to waste your time on it.
And call it good, yeah.
It's only marginally related to Cat People from 1942. It's got a couple of the same characters, now married with a child, and the main character returns as a ghost.
Maybe.
Might
just be in her head.
Yeah, other than that, there's nothing here about cat people or curses at all. It's mostly about a child with an overactive imagination and how people think she's borderline insane. Or maybe it's a true ghost story. But it's barely horror. It's got a ghost, probably, but it's barely a sequel. It's an okay story, but the whole thing is just very misleading.
I would call it meh.
Yeah, I would call it meh, too.
Poster's pretty cool.
Even ignoring the disappointment of it not being a real horror movie, it's still kind of meh.
Yeah,
it's just not a great movie.
It lacks greatness.
All right, heading over to the short film side of things.
One that does have some greatness.
Hide Your Crazy from 2024.
This one was just awesome.
This is my favorite of the week, I think, too.
Yeah, me too.
Written and directed by Austin Case. Stars Amy Helene Carlson and Will Toussaint. 13 and a half minutes, and this one is available on YouTube. There's a link in the show notes. What happens?
Well, Iris rushes into her house to find she's not alone. It's a surprise birthday party set up by her boyfriend Dan. She is surprised for sure, but not exactly happy about it as he explains everything. He fixed this fancy dinner, and he even cleaned up her kitchen, which upsets her tremendously because where's the salt? I need the salt. She's like, frantically looking for her salt for some reason. Well, she insists that he leave. He demands to stay and talk it out. Well, he soon finds out she's more than just a little uptight.
I like her line there. I'm not uptight, all right?
Yeah, she's waving her hands. And,
Well, the moral of the story seems to be never throw out someone's goat intestines and pig's blood.
Yep.
It's very well acted and nicely shot.
And don't move their salt.
And don't, huh?
Yeah.
We know because of the type of the film that something nasty is going to happen, but it all starts out normal enough. Cute even. Then it gets weird, really fast. The special effects are well done and looks really great as well. I think we both really just like this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's very funny.
We did. And did you notice a strong resemblance? The actor who plays Dan, Will Toussaint, a real resemblance to the current Doctor.
Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I thought that was him in the first second or two.
At the first couple.
It clearly becomes clear that it's
seconds.
not, but there's definitely a resemblance.
Yeah. But anyway, really good one.
Yeah. Flesh Computer, 2014. Oh, this is an oldie.
And this is weird.
Written and directed by Ethan Shaftel. Stars David Chalmers, Ellie Gabriel, and Anthony Guarino. 13 minutes and 12 seconds. And, of course, it's on YouTube also. This time around, what happens?
Well, we watch a girl with a cybernetic eye playing with a toy robot as a man on TV talks about consciousness and self. And there's a fly in the room, and we keep seeing point of view from the fly, and the fly is landing on different things. And then we cut to a couple of angry drunks outside shooting at bottles and a cat. And then we cut to a man building a computer interface to a pulsating living blob.
What?
Yeah.
I bet that's the Flesh Computer.
Yeah, it's got machinery and organics. Well, soon all three of these groups combine in a very dangerous way.
Yeah, not a good combination of people.
Yeah.
It's really neat and really weird. It's got that whole futuristic cyberpunk grittiness, but the characters are all relatable and believable. The special effects here are kind of mixed. The CGI fly is pretty awful by today's standards, but the Flesh Computer and what it does toward the end are very good.
Mm-hmm.
The film is 10 years old, so it can probably get by with that fly thing. 10-year-old CGI for an indie film, yeah, it's all right.
And the fly thing is important too, because there's speculation on what is consciousness, and is the fly conscious, and the point of view of the fly, and the point of view of the computer, and point of view of these people, and it's quite good.
Yeah.
A weird one, weirdest of the week.
And that takes us to maybe our last Christmas story for this week.
No.
Slashing Through the Snow, 2024. Written and directed by Chance Stewart, stars Hannah Deanhart, Zian Barron, Corinne Nuncio, Liz Luna, and Hayden Stewart. A little over 12 minutes, and it is also on YouTube. And this time around, Cindy and Billy argue about her sleeping with his best friend. They hear a news report about a madman running loose in the neighborhood, and they've left the back door unlocked. Mayhem ensues.
Well, I think we know where this is going to go.
Yeah, I think we do.
Guess what the madman is dressed as? Santa.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's a Santa slasher. It's got a decent enough story, and it moves quickly. There's enough drama that we care about the characters. Cinematography is a little bit sketchy. Some of the scenes are kind of blurry, and the audio is a little mushy at times, a little overshadowed by the music, but it's a student film. They were learning. So, got to cut it some slack, and it gets the job done. There's a complete story here. Never any doubt about what's going on. So it does deliver some slashy goodness. It's worth checking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you like Terrifier, this is the low-budget version.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, a short Santa slasher, yeah.
All right, next is probably the most confusing one of the week is The Bottom from 2024. Directed by Morgan Rudry O'Sullivan and James Coutts. I'm not even going to pretend I said that right. It's written by James Coutts. Stars Alex Grubbs, James Coutts, and Earl Rothfuss. 8 minutes and 5 seconds, and it is also on YouTube. What's at the bottom of the lake? What's waiting down there? One man points a shotgun at a naked man at the side of the lake. He's going to shoot if the naked man doesn't do as he's told. These guys have been friends for a long time, so there's some confusion as to why this is happening.
Well, something bad happened a long time ago that they're working out.
The two talk back and forth, kind of playing mind games with each other. Now, how's this going to end? All right, well, it certainly looks cold, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
John really knows how to hold a grudge, even after 25 years. So, will the victim guy here go into the lake, or won't he? And what will he find at the bottom if he does? There's some psychological, metaphorical thing going on here that I don't quite grasp, but it's all very well made and creepy, even without any gore. There's no violence here, there's no gore here, not really.
Well, I have a theory, but
I have a theory too.
But it would spoil it completely, so I don't want to go into that.
It's vague enough that it's not a guaranteed explanation. You're not absolutely sure what's going on.
It's open to interpretation.
Yeah.
But I think it's well made enough that you can form an interpretation.
Yeah.
So I would recommend watching it.
Yeah, I would not say it's a complete story. There's more going here that we should have had, but it's good.
They leave you to figure it out for yourself a lot.
Yeah.
But it's really well done. Yeah.
And our final story of the week is Twinkle, which I picked because I thought it might be a Christmas story.
I want to hear you.
It is not a Christmas story.
I want to hear you pronounce this name.
Written and directed by Caradini El Helou.
Good
Stars
job.
Brittany Camacho and Gregory Battle. 4 minutes, 2 seconds. So it's also our shortest of the week. It's black and white.
Mm-hmm.
A woman takes care of an old deaf man who's her father. She turns on his hearing aid and then goes into the next room to make tea.
And it's not quite a hard black and white. It's almost like a really, really heavy gray sepia.
Okay. I don't think I noticed
I
this.
thought the color tone was interesting.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, the old man starts hearing mysterious music in his hearing aid. There's a bright light outside, and a wave of pulsating energy sweeps through. The lights blink on and off, and when the girl returns, her father gets up out of his wheelchair. A new man.
Ooh. Yeah.
It's not as good as it sounds.
In a bad way.
It's very sharp-looking black and white. We don't know exactly what happened here or why. Since it also seems to have happened outside, I'm guessing it was an alien attack or something of the sort. I always default to aliens.
You do.
Or possibly some sort of energy burst from the sun or out in space or something like that. We don't know.
And with the title Twinkle, make like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
Yeah.
Like the sun burped or something.
Well, there's a lot of the story we really don't get. But what we do see is interesting, and it's very well shot. I'd like to see more of the story.
Yeah, it's one that really leaves you wanting more.
It looks so good.
And there's hints of something, catastrophe happening outside the house, too.
Oh, yeah, this is inside, but there's a lot more out there.
You get a hint of horns and chaos out there, but there's Dad to deal with. Yikes.
All right, well, that is it for this week. If you are a paid member over at HorrorWeekly.com, you're going to get 5 more horror movies this week. Some of them are really kind of funny, too. Mm-hmm. I loved Elves.
Yes, yeah.
It was kind of bad. It was so bad. It's one of those so bad it was good ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was atrocious, but it was also hilarious.
But it's weird, and Dan Haggerty's in it.
He didn't make a lot of horror movies.
No.
All right, but that is, of course, over at HorrorWeekly.com for the members-only subscribers. 5 more holiday horror films there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Monday and Tuesday next week, we're going to have a couple more. I mentioned Ghost Keeper on Tuesday. I don't remember what the one Monday is. It's another Christmas horror movie.
Okay.
And then on the 1st, we'll be back to normal stuff.
All right.
I know we've got Heretic and some other ones coming up real soon now.
Nice.
We kind of skipped all the new December releases for the holiday stuff that we got to catch up on.
Now we got to catch up on those.
Yeah. Also next week, the next issue of Horror Monthly will be out. I think it is issue number 40. 40 months we've been doing that thing.
Dang.
That's a lot of movies.
We are dedicated.
Yes. All right, and that is it for this week. I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next year.
See ya.